where
do you bring these kids?
Yeah,
how do you show these kids?
And that's what I tell you.
That's my quarrel in it.
Yeah, what she doesn't want to hear. The government is solely to blame for that. You cannot be perpetuating a system of inequality and claim that now you want to correct it by doing other inequalities. Why don't you scrap away these things you call national schools, talk about provincial schools or county schools and those Harambe schools or the ones set up by CDF. My analogy is this.
Or maybe Jubilee will do that.
If we only need to have a few centers of excellence, that one is acceptable worldwide. Then the rest we need to have what we call benchmarks or the bare minimums for what a school is.
And I think
we say that a school should be a class of 40 learners. There is a teacher, there is a laboratory, there is a library, there is all the, and we define so that anything called a school, anything that operates without that should not be called a school.
But
that is the only time.
If you do that,
yes.
And I think that's what the president, when he was the Minister of Finance, decided through the economic stimulus package to start school of excellence in every
but we still have the dichotomy.
Remove this dichotomy. And now he's the president. He's going to remove it.
But we still have the dichotomy.
Yes. Listen.
Yes.
How is it you are going to equalize when I am the headmaster or principal or headmaster of a private school, and you are told you will not refuse any student to come? What killed that school in Kibera? Olympic.
Yes.
All the boys and girls from Kibera went to that school. There is no limit. You cannot refuse entry to a child who comes standard one. Yes. But in an academy, my academy, I'll take that.
Exactly. And the reason being
that's the beginning of inequality.
Yes.
Tell me
the reason why you can only admit 30 is because of the resources. The issue is that you took more children to Olympics. You never added the teachers. You never added the classrooms. So if you're able to fix the issue of resources, sincerely speaking, there will be no issue of inequality. For instance, let me ask this, Motegi. When you came here, you could be having your B.Ed. It doesn't matter. You could have got a first class or you could have got a second upper. All of us are working, with your colleagues, you are working for Royal Media Services. You are equalized at that level.
Yes.
It was not the question of whether you got a first class or a second class. It was not whether you went to a public university or you went to a private university. That is not the case. The issue is about your competences. I think it's absolutely wrong for you to send a message to a 13-year-old that when you work so hard and get 430 marks,
you're from a private
you are from a private school, all that will happen to you will send you to Pumwani. It is not right. The government should scrap off this madness of calling schools national schools, call others county schools, and call. In fact, the point Mheshimiwa was talking about here, that there is no saving in public schools. There is a lot of saving in public schools. And I don't want to give rumors, I just want to give facts. Look at any educational report. It's going to tell you that there are a lot of overages in public schools. Yes. And the reason being is that you look at by standard 7, a lot of children are made to repeat. Even in public schools, a lot of children are made to repeat so that we are saving through those who are going to class 8. When you hear schools that have performed poor, they'll tell you that parents insisted that let's even push those ones who could not perform, so that they go to class 8. So you cannot be saying that private schools are saving. Even this is also taking place in the public schools.
No, I don't talk about saving. I think saving is okay. Because there's no way, even when I'm a teacher, I will agree and I will tell a parent, if I take this kid beyond, he's going to fail.
So why are you demonizing the private sector for doing that?
No, we are not demonizing. And let me tell you, this is the challenge we face. Because when we are saying we want to, he said he's a consultant in education. So if you are a consultant in education, are you looking at both the whole system, or will you look at only the private sector and say, now what I thought is the private sector can also help to ensure what is happening in the private sector that is not happening here is just one, the numbers. And again, education is a basic right. Yes. And therefore the government has to take the burden of ensuring that any child who is supposed to go to school, let them go to school.
Which is not doing.
The next thing we need to, which it is doing, that is why we have the numbers that have exploded ever since we started free primary education, which is good. The only next thing we need to ask ourselves as Kenyans, without politicizing the sector also, is that, where do we get now quality teachers, and how do we ensure now we reduce the numbers in classes so that a teacher can manage 40?
And therefore the people in the private sector have confidence to bring our children to the public sector. Yes, which the government is not doing.
That is the thing. No, the government is doing. And I want to say,
if the public schools are good, nobody will go to academy.
Exactly. And that's the reason why there are no private roads. They are not. You know, Mheshimiwa.
Forget about private roads. There are private roads in some of these current places. Don't talk about. Don't look at education as a road now. No, let us not go there.
The role of the government.
Let us ask ourselves: do we have private health sectors?
The role of
yes, and that's why we also have services. The government must now look at it, essential services. Anything that is a basic need, let us look at it differently. Let us not look at it at roads, I don't know. No, these are essential services that transform people's lives. Therefore, you have to give it a very different view. And we have to look at it at a very sober manner. We cannot look at it comparing. No. The comparing we did is where we have reached. Now the time has come, we have to harmonize. So that we have, if you know that you have kids who are going to public universities and private universities, if we have loans, let every student benefit that.
And Mwakazi, maybe my
final remark.
Yes, what I'll say, that the role of the government, any social sector, it is the responsibility of the government. The reason why we are having a lot of problems in the social sector in these countries is because we privatized some of these aspects. But globally, where a government fails, even to a little extent, to take up its absolute responsibility in the social sector, especially in health, water, and education, you see the mess that we are having. Therefore, the government must be seen to be taking, you have to let the private sector to dominate in these other factors of production, like manufacturing, so that the role of the government, therefore, is left to be there for policy. But you cannot begin to introduce a lot of privatization, because the private sector enters with an intent of profit making. Yet the government, you cannot do an economic sensitivity analysis or do a payback system to education. What will you claim to be an annual rate of return for education? You cannot quantify that. And that's why such functions are left to the government. So the government has to go a little step further and make the public sector attractive enough so that I don't have to pay additional money, even in health, to a private sector, when there is Kenyatta National Hospital that is having the best oncologists at the end of the day. So why am I going to a private hospital for them to hire a doctor from the public sector? It is because of the problems in the public sector. So it is not the question of maybe blaming the government, but we are saying that I started by saying that if the government was on top and the government takes its rightful position in as far as matters of education are concerned, we will not be seeing all these kind of things happening. You won't be seeing unions be the ones to look like they are setting the pace. Every time the minister has to wake up, has to try and imagine, is KNUT about to issue a strike notice? Another day you have to see civil society protesting. Another day you have to see the private academies coming up in arms, simply because you are not just basically in control. Take your rightful position, and people will have to toe the line, and we give the essential services to the common.
I think what I'll say in a very short way is that it is important for Kenyans to know government is us. The teacher who is in that class receives salary from government. And it is time the ministry also to bring back the discipline that we used to, the scorecard. If a teacher has to go home, let them go home. Let us not fight for numbers, yet we are not seeing results. Today, parents are wondering, if we had more than 200,000 children who failed, why are even teachers fighting for more salaries? Why can't we have a few to just show an example, this thing can work? But the county governments should now take control. And they should come in and supplement and support the national government in ensuring things are working within the counties. And even if it's putting inspection, they have an executive of education. Let him inspect schools. Let us now start the fight from there and see whether it won't work. And the unions should not come in and ask questions that who is your employer. If you are my employer and you are working within my environment and you are not performing, I believe I have a right to say also you need to be exiting.
All right. Many thanks indeed. Talking to Amos Kaburu, who is an education consultant, and of course Honorable Beatrice Alachi, nominated senator. We'll be right back. Don't go away.